In the World Trade Center, the office serves as a single point of contact for federal export support services offered by the U.S. Department of Commerce, Small Business Administration, and U.S. Export Bank. Oregon has regional responsibility for Oregon and Southwest Washington. Mr. Goddin brings more than 30 years of international experience to the director position. He's been with the Department of Commerce for over 30 years, managing trade policy, business development portfolios covering China, Korea, and Taiwan, as well as multilateral affairs under the World Trade Organization. Mr. Goddin has traveled repeatedly to Asia for trade negotiations, and his overseas experience includes a Peace Corps tour in Africa and short-term assignments in the U.S. embassies in Korea, Kenya, and the Czech Republic. Mr. Goddin also has had assignments in the Office of the United States Trade Representative and on Capitol Hill with a subcommittee on trade of the House Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Goddin is married with 2 children and lives in Lake Oswego. Would everybody please give Mr. Goddin a hand and welcome him to the dais? Thank you.
Good morning. I want to thank the Oregon-China Sister State Relations Council for the invitation to speak today. It's always interesting to address a trade issue in current times. Hopefully my slides will be up soon. I did want to speak, as my remarks will, as I'll proceed with my remarks today, the importance of what's going to happen today in terms of the importance of e-commerce and the ability of small and medium-sized companies in the state to take advantage of e-commerce. China is our largest trading partner, about over $2 billion in Oregon exports to China. But what gets the headlines is very often the high-value products that will actually travel by jet because they are high value between Portland and China. Those will include Intel semiconductor chips. Intel is responsible for close to 25% of world exports of $21 billion of stuff. So semiconductors and related semiconductor equipment, big picture, a lot of money, a lot of value. But it's Intel and about three or four other companies. There's another small company out in Beaverton called Nike. Most of you would not think that, when I talk to high school students locally, they say, well, what is some of the biggest Oregon firms? Intel's not often on their radar screen, Nike is. And then ask them, what does Nike make here? And they say footwear. Nike does not make footwear in Oregon. They do make air soles. Air soles are a high value product, which I haven't worn Nikes for a very long time. They're a part of what makes Nike, Nike. Those are manufactured here. Roughly, probably $200 million of Nike exports are also on that jet with the Intel semiconductors. The other thing that will go out is frozen raspberries, blueberries, high value, fresh product, actually fresh, some frozen, to Asian markets. So those are the things that are well orchestrated, well run, and the relationships, the buyer-seller relationships are well established. There are 6,000 companies exporting out of Oregon. 5,500 of them are small and medium-sized companies. I've been counseling companies, as Ken had been gracious enough to mention, here for over 20 years. I don't talk to Nike, I don't talk to Intel. I talk to some of those 5,000. We counsel roughly 400 or 500 companies a year of doing business. And one of the things that's critical to my having a conversation or a successful conversation with companies is their ability to export, their bandwidth for export. You've heard me, if you've been here the last couple of years, talk about some of the things that we do around building trade capacity in countries, in companies. How do you find the markets? How do you get paid? How do you ship? When we get to the point of talking e-commerce, that becomes a little bit of an easier equation in terms of buyer-seller connecting and the intermediaries that can make the transaction happen and complete and be successful. So that in part is the importance of what happens today, that e-commerce provides the reach, and in a particularly tough market. China is a great market, but it is a tough market. So the importance of e-commerce today should not be understated in terms of how it can help you to develop a feel for the international market, but also make you successful and then grow from there. I'm very advantaged of being the first speaker in a program on e-commerce, on Asia, and China in particular, because if you've been to any presentations on Asia, traditionally what people throw out are numbers and superlatives. When it comes to e-commerce in China, this is kind of an easy presentation because I'm just going to throw out some numbers, which you're reading now, but just to give you an idea of the volume of trade happening here. Put this in a little bit of perspective. China, about 1.3 billion people. Their middle class, roughly 350 million people. Middle class, 350 million. Does anybody know what the population of the United States is? A little south of 350 million, right? So just to put some of these numbers in perspective. You haven't read them, so I'll go through them fairly quickly. China is the world's largest e-commerce market, projected to reach $1.6 trillion in value by 2019. Put that in additional perspective. Councilor Yang will correct me on this. China's GNP, roughly $12 trillion. Okay, $12 trillion. So $1.6 trillion of e-commerce activity is a very significant percentage. Just for comparison, US GNP, roughly 14 trillion. I don't know what our e-commerce numbers are, but let me get to the rest of what's happening in China. Over 40% of total e-commerce spending comes from China. 2016, the number of digital buyers reached over 460 million. That means some of those 350 million middle class are buying a couple more things, but still an incredible volume. It's expected that that audience will reach over 600 million this year. Okay, so for a nation from the US, 330 million, there's a lot of people buying a lot of stuff. By 2020, China's e-commerce market is predicted to be larger than the US, UK, Japan, Germany, and France combined. It's an important thing to remember on the one hand. On the other hand, for the types of things that will sell on e-commerce coming out of Oregon, and to be high-value consumer products, you want to look at the EU. So even though the volume's not as in the EU and other related, like Canada, other related markets, they're not as attractive by volume, but they do represent important markets for the types of things that you want to sell and how you might create volume into that market. You're going to hear more about the actual mechanics of doing business on e-commerce platforms, but just to throw out a couple things. E-commerce space in China is dominated by domestic platforms. Everybody's heard of Alibaba, but Alibaba Taobao, sort of their equivalent of Amazon, Tmall, and JD.com that you'll probably hear a little bit more about today. Roughly half of China's e-commerce sales are made on mobile devices. We're just beginning to figure out how to shop on our phones. Maybe some of you are fairly comfortable. It happens all the time in China. we're playing catch up in terms of this e-commerce environment. Korea, China, Japan, this happens all the time. In terms of that volume of sales, half of e-commerce, that's 16%, above 16% more than the global average. Online wallets are the top payment methods used by a third of Chinese shoppers. There are dozens of email platforms. 2016, Taobao had 253 million users. The Chinese equivalent of Black Friday, Singles Day, November 11th, busiest online shopping day of the year. Alibaba in 2016 had a $14.3 billion day. Oregon's annual exports are $22 billion. Okay. Alibaba did that did 2/3 of that in one day. When I said the importance of e-commerce in terms of enabling an exporter to facilitate a transaction, to make a transaction happen. Smaller companies, they're good at production. They may be better at marketing, but the international piece requires bandwidth. And e-commerce does have intermediaries that allow you to get into an international market quicker and faster, quicker and more effectively. U.S. companies can sell products on Chinese e-commerce platforms, can either establish a presence in China or use cross-border e-commerce. You'll hear a little bit about both options. We'll hear today about a company called Hoopla Global that is established to assist companies in getting into the Chinese e-commerce market. U.S. firms can take advantage of China's cross-border e-commerce bonded warehouses. You'll hear about TEDA today in terms of being able to get into the market and have product available to sell. There's over a dozen of these special bonded zones that create a streamlined pathway into the market. There are limits in terms of what Chinese consumers can purchase online. It's roughly $300 per sales transaction and roughly under about $2,000 a year. So you'll need to be aware of what those limitations are. That's really more the consumer's issue than yours, but just to give you an idea of what some of the limitations are. The important thing about doing business globally, but cannot underscore the importance of doing business in China, are partners. You can pick them at different levels of what you'll hear about today, and you'll hear suggestions for partners, but these regulations change. China is a place that you'll also hear where relationships are very important. It doesn't, the e-commerce is not going to mean your relationship with your customer. It might mean your relationship with your partner and his relationship with the customs officials. So there are regulations, there is transparency, but that personal relationship is important, and the partner that you have can be critical to your success. The other issue is that many of the products that will lend themselves to e-commerce will be food products, cosmetics, consumer goods. These can be fairly highly regulated in many economies. To the extent that they're traveling by e-commerce, there's a little bit more trust assumed by the authorities in terms of these transactions. So this is a good way to go, because 20 years here, I have probably taken hundreds of calls related to my products stuck in customs, and it was either because they didn't have the right approvals, they didn't have the documentation. What can happen in terms of e-commerce is that a lot of that gets facilitated. In terms of your marketing effort, social media, we think Facebook here In China, social media is Facebook on steroids, and all of the other InstaChat, everything else you want to mention. But it's critical in terms of e-commerce, and your marketing activity need to be hand in glove. The three biggest social media players in China: WeChat, microblog Weibo. I may be mispronouncing these, so hopefully somebody will correct me as we proceed. And social network QQ. WeChat allows retailers to feature online stores and has a convenient third-party payment function. The other thing that happens in China that is kind of hard to believe, it's sort of like if Amazon has a sale here, you may or may not hear about it. In China, with WeChat and some of the others, you get instant reaction. So you can have millions of dollars of sales happen just by virtue of a social media message coming out. So something you want to consider if your product may lend itself to sharp increase in demand all of a sudden, and you're trying to establish yourself in the market. WeChat sends out a great deal, and all of a sudden you have 200,000 units that you're behind because your social media wasn't integrated with your e-commerce and production capability. Just something to keep in mind. One thing important in China is intellectual property rights. Not only is it an issue in China, actually there was an article just the other day about the customs seizing goods coming into the US market. But registering your trademark is probably the most critical thing in this area. So be excited about doing business, but be aware that trademark infringement can be a big problem, and it can happen fast in terms of the volume of dollars and sales that we're talking. So it is something to keep in mind, and probably a worthwhile investment when the rest of what's involved in establishing an e-commerce infrastructure may not involve a lot of money, but it's something to consider. I'm just going to move very quickly just into some sort of general resources that the U.S. Department of Commerce has. This is moving away a little bit from China, but at export.gov/e-commerce, we have a lot of just good information on doing business with an e-commerce strategy. Issues related to how you ship your products, getting paid. An important thing, depending on what you're selling, to be successful, managing after-sales service. Again, a lot of the products that will fall under e-commerce won't be an after-sales service issue, but it's something we want to be aware of. How to optimize your user experience. What's your web page want to look like? What is your page on some of the Chinese platforms going to look like? How do you want that to feel? What is the consumer experience in terms of that being attractive? This link, export.gov e-commerce, it's sort of export 101, but it will cover a lot of other issues related to e-commerce. There'll be webinars on different topics. We recently just did one on the Chinese cosmetic market, how you use e-commerce to sell there. Also, just country and function briefing. So if you're going to be looking at other markets, including China, what are some of the things what are some of the tricks of the trade, if you will? At export.gov, that is my agency's website, the International Trade Administration, U.S. Commercial Service. We have a lot of general information that actually gets very specific on doing business in the market. So we have something called country commercial guides, export.gov/CCG, country commercial guides, which can be kind of a story, if you will, by market. So what's happening politically, what's happening in the economy, What are the best prospects for U.S. exports in the market, both agricultural and industrial products? How do I sell? How do I establish a distributor? How do I get paid? What are the most common, how are they most comfortable paid in that market? Some cultural issues. Again, if you're in e-commerce, that's something you want to be paying attention to in terms of what the face of your store looks like, as opposed to shaking hands, paying attention to business cards, that kind of thing. But good stuff to know as your footprint and presence grows in the market. What do I want to look for in a partner? Some of the higher level considerations before you drill down a little bit. What are some of the trade events I should take advantage of? Food product shows, cosmetic shows might be a good place to introduce your product. There's a modest issue with regard to the timing of this program today. There are 75 Oregon companies attending Natural Products West down in California. A lot of Asian buyers coming to that show to look at food products, cosmetic products, anything that's considered natural products. Strong opportunities conducive to e-commerce down there, and there's a lot of folks that probably ought to be here, hearing about the opportunities here. Lastly, this is just the background that we've established. We have something called the E-commerce Innovation Lab, which is a good source of, again, a lot of information on doing business by e-commerce. There is an e-commerce specific market research piece where I pulled all of my numbers today. Information on sectors and opportunities there related to e-commerce. Issues around taxation, regulations that you need to be aware of, that exporting with e-commerce is simpler, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. So you need to do your homework, and you'll hear about a lot of resources that can help you with that, including this today. But you do want to have done your homework before you're jumping into this market, because it's not Amazon, it's not eBay. There'll be information around free trade agreements, other types of regulations. Actually, I'm doing a program on the general data protection regulations in the EU next week. So things that relate to the information that you have about your customers in Europe will be important. And China tends to have maybe a 3-year lag on regulatory. So if you're comfortable in the EU on some of the management of individual information, that will position you for what's going to happen in China. But when it happens in China, it's going to happen fast. So using resources that you'll learn about today and web pages here can be helpful to your success. That's who I am. I look forward to speaking with you either today or in the future. I'm sure these presentations will be available, so we'll get these out. I also have some information on the table out front, if that'll be helpful to you. Ken, can we take questions maybe after the 3 of us explain? Or we can do it now, whatever works for people.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
thank you for your presentation.
Need other questions. Please, Rosie, what can I help you with?
My buddy. I haven't talked to you for a long time. So there are wonderful commercial country guides. Isn't there also an industry cross-country guide, especially for food and beverage industry? At export.gov/industry, there are a lot of industry-specific market research. The International Trade Administration, Department of Commerce,
covers some food products. We might do beverages, but we work very closely with the Foreign Agricultural Service. So for reporting on food products, I would look to USDA first. They have something called game reports, and I have ODA or former ODA colleagues that can recite the rest of that alphabet related to the Foreign Agricultural Service reporting. That would be probably a first place to look. Sure. Anybody else? I've answered all your questions. Thank you very much.
I will definitely need them. Thank you. Before we go to the next speaker, as a Clackamas County Commissioner, I want to point out the far right, your left back table back there. Catherine, would you mind standing up, please? This is Catherine Grabowski Johnson, and she is the head of our Economic Development Department in Clackamas County. I'd encourage everybody in the room to make sure you have an opportunity to speak to Catherine and the team folks that are at her table, most of whom are on her team. If there's anything that Clackamas County can do to help you, those are the folks to talk to. My assistant is also there, that's Kimberly, and she will also be able to help you or get you in touch with the right people. So, cannot be embarrassed to promote Clackamas County. On to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Amanda Welker, Global Strategies Officer from Business Oregon. As Global Strategies Officer, Amanda serves as the state lead for global trade and foreign direct investment, managing Oregon's export promotion programs and inbound investment strategies. Amanda began working for the state of Oregon in 2003 at the Oregon Legislature, and then at the Oregon Department of Agriculture, and most recently at Oregon's Economic Development Department. She has dedicated the last 12 years of her career to international business development, conducting trade missions, trade shows, and promotions across the globe for small businesses from Oregon and Western U.S. states, with specialization in Asian markets. Prior to joining the state of Oregon, Amanda worked in statistics at the U.S. Department of Agriculture and held business development and marketing roles in high-tech and outdoor recreation sectors. Amanda serves as a national board member of the State International Development Organization and was appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce as a member of the Oregon District Export Council. Amanda lives in Northeast Portland with her husband Charlie and young son. In her time away from work, Amanda enjoys music, photography, spending time in nature, keeping up with Oregon's vibrant restaurant scene, and traveling with her family. Please welcome Amanda Welker.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see some familiar faces in the audience and some new ones as well. This is one of my favorite pictures. I think it mentioned in my bio that I like to dabble in photography a bit. This is a picture from Chengdu, and I just think it does a nice job of capturing the traditional and the new. Walk into that Shangri-La and you feel like you're in a you are in a 5-star resort, and then walking along the river, you see more of the traditional parts of China. Great city, suggest you visit. Chengdu is great. How many of you, just a couple of questions so I know who I'm talking to today. How many in the audience have been to China? Great, great. How many of you are businesses that are shipping to China? Great. And how many of you want to start shipping your products into China? Okay, great. Well, let's talk about that. So today I'm going to talk an overview, Oregon exports to China and what our value proposition is. The niche opportunities that we have for small businesses, you know, 98% of Oregon companies are small businesses. So when I talk about small businesses, that's basically 500 employees or less. So that's going to be pretty much the gamut of Oregon companies, with the exceptions of the big ones that Scott just mentioned. I think that we have opportunities in clean tech and green cities, Food and beverage is a huge one that you'll hear a lot about today. Other consumer goods, and then of course, cross-border e-commerce. And I'll talk a little bit about state assistance. I work for Business Oregon, which is the state's economic development department. We have a global trade team based in Portland. We also have 2 recruitment officers that manage inbound investment. We have an office in Japan with 2 Japan reps and a regional market rep working to develop our Korea and China strategies. And then we also have an office in Germany that works on foreign direct investment into Oregon. So what does Oregon have to offer? I think those of you that have been to China, when you visit China, Oregon may not be top of mind, right? People know California, they know Seattle, they know Vancouver, BC, but where do we fit? I think the main thing we talk about is we talk about our access to the California market. It's the 5th largest economy in the world on its own, and we're just north of it. So it's a great place to set up business and have access to that California market. We are largely unknown outside the Pacific Northwest. We have to remember this, you know, when you live in a place and that place becomes your life, you have to remember that there's a lot of education, and we need to talk about Oregon. We're seeing really good growth. Oregon, Scott talked about our $22 billion in exports. That's a record. We continue to climb each year. And there's real opportunity growth in technology, data centers, aerospace, software, e-commerce, and distribution and logistics. These are the industry sectors that we see really strong double-digit growth for the state. Low power costs. So if people are looking to invest in Oregon or looking to set up shop here in Oregon, we do have some of the lowest electric rates in the country. Rapidly growing regions, Boise, Seattle, Portland, all booming. So there's a really good workforce in the Pacific Northwest that we also like to talk about, educated. And then Portland International Airport, we're proud of this. Last 5 to 6 years, Condé Nast has ranked us the best business airport in the country. These are how our export markets look for Oregon. 22 billion, 18% going to China, Canada, Malaysia, Korea. These are our top markets, as you can see in our top 10. Only 3 of them are outside the Pacific Rim, outside Asia. So most of our efforts are focused in Asian markets. When we do break this down a little bit, I do need to tell you, China and Malaysia are heavily dominated by Intel exports. So we've got 30,000 employees here in Oregon, out in Hillsboro. It's the largest Intel facility in the world. So most of those China exports, and then almost all of those Malaysia exports that you see, are coming out of the Intel operation. Oregon exports by industry, here you go. Almost 50% computer and electronic products. Now the state is probably not going to be a lot of help to a multinational like Intel. So we focus our energy in some of these smaller areas. As you can see, transportation equipment. We see a lot happening in the aerospace and defense industry, which is one of the fastest growing here in Oregon. Machinery around clean tech and green environmental products and opportunities. And then they separated out here, agricultural products and food products. We put those together, and that's going to be our second largest export into China. And I'm having a little trouble with the remote. Okay, so export growth. Took a look at our export growth, and Oregon is doing quite well on a national level and on our own. You can see the export growth is 21% over the last 20 years and leading the national average. Look at this. Where Oregon ends up in a national poll. We're ahead of Ohio, Michigan, and Alabama. So those are some. Ohio and Michigan surprise me. Those are strong export states, and we're continuing to grow and show some strength in a very tough market. So wanted to break down the food and beverage and agricultural products. So these in millions kind of break out the categories that are heading over to China. Fruit and vegetable, fish and marine products, fruit and tree nuts, beverages. But when we look at our growth, we have some national rankings that I think are interesting to look at. Beverages, 77.4% growth. That's huge. So that I think that's an opportunity to look at. Grain and oilseed milling products, we've always been strong. You may hear a story today about grass seed into Oregon, kind of one of our initial entrees into the Chinese market. Fruit and vegetable preserves, tree nuts. So these are areas of high growth where we rank well nationally in the market. Vertical forests and clean tech. Has anyone seen this? This is I pulled this from the World Economic Forum. The video caught my eye as they're putting skyscrapers up and covering them with trees to create these vertical forests and green cities. You know, Oregon is green on its own, covered in moss. So I think that there might be an opportunity here for us to work together. Oregon is a state of first. We have the first bottle bill in the nation for recycling. We're the only state with urban growth boundary. We're the first city with green infrastructure policy. So, you know, these are kind of the clean and green distinguishers for the state of Oregon that we need to talk about and how we need to promote ourselves in China. I think we all know that the government of China is working really hard to improve their cities and air quality, lifestyle, you know, making it a more livable place in these giant cities of multi-millions of people. I wanted to share a couple of success stories from Oregon because we have worked in this green technology and environmental space, and Met One Instruments out of Grants Pass. They are doing a great job, you know, on air quality, and they've managed to be accepted by the China National Environmental Monitoring Center as the only PM 2.5 monitoring in China. So the only ones that are accepted in that way. So they're monitoring air quality and have really seen great success. SSI Shredding, working in the solid waste field. Again, they've got over 100 successful installations. I put a little plug up for the CIIE Expo in Shanghai that's happening in May. We'll be taking a trade delegation over. Mayor Wheeler will be headed over to China right before this event in Suzhou, Portland's sister city, and then follow that up to be exhibiting. So if you have anything in the environmental area, let us know, reach out. We do have opportunities there. But I think most of us are here maybe to learn about cross-border e-commerce. Pull this out of McKinsey quarterly study. Cross-border consumer e-commerce is growing 50% annually. Where else can you see that kind of growth? What an opportunity. And Scott mentioned these amazing numbers just a minute ago. So in 2020, more than UK, France, Canada, US, I can't remember, combined total value in China. What is this consumer looking for? They're looking for authenticity. You know, there's still a worry about, am I getting the real thing? Is this the real product? Is this authentic? Tmall is now working with Costco and a large South Korean retailer called Lotte. Government has supported this e-commerce, cross-border e-commerce model. What was happening before is things were getting in anyway through the gray market. So the Chinese government has seen this as an opportunity to provide the goods that the consumer wants, and works out for shippers and works out for consumers. This is important. The consumers they're a discerning consumer. They don't just want any product. You need to figure out a niche offering, something that's not available in China yet and is in limited quantities. You know, create a buzz, create excitement about your product, and show them what can be available that's not there already. So who is our target customer? I think this is a great picture. This is a mom and child, examining the ingredients, looking to see what's inside. Children in Chinese culture, as many of you know, very valuable. Most families just have one. So it's really important to know what's going in, how you're feeding your family and what's going into the product. Most of the e-commerce requests that we receive through the state, and when I talk with companies, are for baby food, toddler food, kids clothing, so anything having to do reaching that mom that wants good quality products for their family. Anything that would be sold at a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's, those are the kinds of products that consumers are looking for from the United States in the market. Market research. This is so important. We have a different palate than Chinese, obviously. So it's important to do that market research. Do focus groups. Get involved. See what's happening. Is it too sweet? Too salty? What do they like about the packaging? Is it too big? Too small? These are all things that you need to be thinking about when you're preparing to ship to China. God also talked about this, the mobile consumers. I just was reading an article through Facebook, that they're challenged, that people are, they're working on the e-commerce through Facebook, but people aren't necessarily buying through Facebook. They're looking, but they'll do their purchase elsewhere. They'll jump onto Amazon or do a web search to find another product. Not necessarily the case in China. Mobile consumers are important. This is how people get their information. And this is how people are doing their shopping. Thought this is a good one. This is, on the train, hanging out and still checking your WeChat. So, the dog on the bottom is the mascot for JD.com. And JD and WeChat have a relationship where they will notify you through your WeChat social network, of sales, things happening. Alibaba does not have this relationship with WeChat. So it's very important, kind of when you're discovering this area and looking at this area to think about these connections and where you need to be seen. Wow. This is the social media landscape in China. This is dizzying. If you don't speak or read Chinese, it's even more dizzying. So how do you begin to navigate this? First thing I would say is have a local partner. Take a look at this, really defining your consumer, defining your target, knowing what you want to sell over there, and having done your market research. That way, you can take a look at this and start siphoning off where you want to play. This is another one. In talking with all the small businesses that we've worked with over the years, ocean and air shipping, this becomes a real challenge for small businesses. How am I going to figure out all this paperwork? I don't have a full container to sell. I only have a couple pallets. How do I get that over to China? Once it gets to China, how do I get it in? Will it be rejected? Have I done my testing before I've come over? What's allowed? Maybe they'll shut it down. Maybe they'll send it back. These are all concerns for small businesses, and they're real concerns because they cost money, they take time, and in the end, if you don't have it figured out, you're going to lose money. Order fulfillment. So all these containers, all these shipments are coming into different parts of China. And how do we get our product from Oregon into China through all of the clearance to the fulfillment warehouse and then out to maybe your customer in Chengdu, maybe your customer in Beijing. China's bigger than the United States, so we have to think about these things and how we get our products there. And This is how you might see many products delivered. This is a JD.com delivery. It looks like some of our Beeline trucks here in Portland, right? So sustainable opportunities with bikes and small deliveries. These are delivered directly to homes, apartments, sometimes convenience stores where people can pick up their products there. So Scott mentioned Hoopla earlier, Hoopla Global. I want to talk a little bit about a new Oregon company that's helping to take some of the fear, anxiety, worry out of cross-border e-commerce. They've developed a store in China, both mobile and desktop. But the idea is, I think we all know here in the United States how popular flash sales are, right? You get online, it's like, oh, we only have this much product that we can sell in this amount of time, you better get on and purchase. Well, that same concept is happening in China. So if you want the US product, if you want the good quality, organic product, the natural product, create a sense of urgency, create an opportunity to find new things. So Hoopla has a partnership with JD.com. They're willing to take your product. All you need is a couple pallets of product, so it's manageable for you. And they cut out all the middleman. They take care of it for you. They take care of the logistics. They take care of the paperwork. They take care of the customs clearance. And the relationship with JD.com helps you get a presence on social media and helps get your product distributed to your customers. Questions? I put this map up because I think it's good. It talks about China, but you can also see there's so much opportunity. You know, we have ASEAN down there with 650 million people. That's growing like crazy with a young population. This is what we need to be looking at. This is the future. This is what's happening in Asian markets. So if you have questions, we're here, our team. How do I approach the market? Developing an export plan and marketing strategy. Export finance insurance, really important. Make sure that you get paid. And then export promotion program. The state of Oregon does offer a program to help people export into new markets. For qualifying trade shows, trade missions, even some website development, we offer a 50% reimbursement to qualified companies to help them manage the burden of those high costs when you're entering the market. And then lastly, I want to talk about Select USA, taking you back to the beginning of the presentation. We talk about Oregon. Just as we want to export products into Oregon, we also want to promote inbound investment into Oregon. So what does that look like? Every year outside Washington, D.C., the U.S. federal government has a program where states meet with potential investors from overseas. This year, they're doing more spin-off activities, and I think this is a great opportunity for Oregon. After the Select USA conference, they're flying back to Asia. Why not make a stop here in Oregon? Let us tell you about what we have to offer. Let us show you around the state and see that we are a real player and we have an opportunity in China. So that's all from me today. Please feel free to reach out to me via email. If you know some of my team members, they would love to hear from you as well. Lots of information on our website, and we look forward to working with you.
Before we get started on our next speaker, we've all been sitting for over an hour and a half here, so stand up, stretch your legs, get another cup of coffee, take 5 minutes. I'll call you back and we'll get started on the next speaker.
Hi. Yeah, Chris. Are you reading all of them?
I'm fine. Yeah, before your speaker, that's right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started again, please. I hope you got your coffee, find your seats, and we will get started with our next speaker. And please don't leave me, we're at having a recess here. Everybody, please find your seats. Let's get started. Thank you. Okay, folks, our next speaker today is Yelena Nowak, Trade Development Manager, Oregon Department of Agriculture. After joining the state in 2016 as a Trade Development Manager, Yelena supports and promotes Oregon agricultural businesses across the state, domestic and international borders, through marketing, business development, and export promotion. Assigned to China market, Yelena works closely with the U.S. agricultural trade offices in China, as well as Western U.S. agricultural trade associations, developing and leading numerous inbound and outbound trade missions that serve the needs of Oregon businesses. Originally from Western Kazakhstan in Central Asia, Yelena has been living in Oregon since 2010. She earned her Master's of International Management degree from Portland State University and holds a Bachelor of International Business and Economic Relations from Samara State University of Economics. Prior to the ODA, Yelena worked at Supply Source, managing exports and imports, flow of testing supplies for Hewlett-Packard's global R&D facilities, while developing expertise in global trade and import compliance. Please welcome Yelena Nowak.
Hello, everyone. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank Consulate General of People's Republic of China in San Francisco for your continued support of Oregon and the diverse business culture we have in Oregon. And special thanks to Jin Lan, the person who facilitates relationship between China and Oregon. China is an extremely important market for Oregon products, agriculture. With a diverse, great amount of products we have, whether it's grass seeds, seafood, hazelnuts, consumer packaged goods, wine, or spirits, China is incredibly important for us. Did you know that in 2008 in Beijing Olympics, any lawn you would see, it was planted with Oregon grass seed. And these nursery products. Beijing Botanical Garden planted Oregon nursery trees, the shade trees, as a way to promote Oregon nursery industry. It's a very developed industry. Also, did you know that Alibaba Hama supermarket, the exclusive supplier of live Dungeness crab, is Oregon company and Oregon crab? Those are just few of the great number of stories we have between Oregon and China. It is the #4 market for Oregon agricultural products, and it is the #1 export market for Oregon textiles. The opportunities in China are incredible. At the Oregon Department of Agriculture, the Market Development Program, we work extensively on developing a strategy for market in China. We develop and lead trade missions to China, outbound and inbound, from China, bringing buyers and delegates to visit the industries and visit the businesses. We work very closely with USDA agricultural trade offices in China. There are 5. Those are incredible resources for Oregon companies to know about and to connect when you go to China. It's Beijing, Shanghai, Shenyang, Chengdu, and Guangzhou. There is another one in Hong Kong. Every year, ATO offices, agricultural trade office, they bring the delegations to Oregon. It has been happening for many years. We have the seafood mission. We had the seafood mission last year that we took to the Oregon coast, Newport and Astoria, visiting with businesses and stopping by and chatting with fishermen. We have this year fresh produce inbound trade mission from Beijing. It's led by ATO Beijing, but the buyers will be from different parts of China. We also had the largest China group last year 25 buyers from 3 different ATO offices. It was an incredible group. We had to get a 55-seat bus. It was fun. So that's happening every year. Stay tuned. Send us an email to ODA. No contact information here, but I will be available here for some time. So stop by and get my card, or you can definitely get my contact information from Jean or Rosie. So we also work with Western U.S. Agricultural Trade Association, WSADA. This year, we have outbound trade mission going into Beijing and Shanghai at the end of the year. Together with my counterparts at Idaho Department of Agriculture, we'll take a group of companies from Idaho, Oregon, and any other state of the Western U.S., 13 member states, in food service and ingredients. And the group will be meeting with lots of buyers. All the meetings are prearranged. They will be learning about China market and hopefully building those incredible relationships that are so important in China market. We also will have, this coming May, just 2 months, we will have Oregon Department of Agriculture Director's Mission to China in conjunction with CIIE China Trade Show. We haven't had Director's Mission to China in quite some time. We're very proud. We have 9 Oregon companies joining in hopes to establish relationships and make those contacts. On the other hand, we also have WSADA inbound missions, whether it's in seafood, in consumer packaged goods, food service ingredients. As you can see, we have lots and lots and lots of opportunities at the Oregon Department of Agriculture for our Oregon companies. Basically, we cover all the sectors, whether your business is in food service or ingredients or alcohol, consumer packaged goods, there are so many, fresh. We can help you all, one way or another, in regards to China. We can help you with information, data, trade connections. In collaboration with Consulate General of China in San Francisco, we are hoping to establish more connections and work together to help Oregon companies. Please let us know how we can be helpful to you guys. We are here for you and for every Oregon producer, grower, fisherman, processor, winery, anyone. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, excuse me, do you have the time dates for the timelines you mentioned, the trade missions?
Yes, we do, for some, not all.
Where can we find them?
Email me.
So email us again?
Yes, it is. It's a long email and I can give you my card, but if someone wants to write down, it's YN as in Nicholas, OWAK as Yelena, Nowak, at oda.state.or.us.
Thank
you. Other questions?
Could you repeat that again, please?
Pardon me?
Would you please repeat your?
Yes. It's YNOWAK at oda.state.or.us. Next time I should have it. That's why you have the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Any more questions, guys? Yes, please, Terry.
Yelena, what categories do you think have the best opportunity in China? commodities, consumer package, spirits, beverage, fast food, what do you see as the big movers?
It's a combination.
Representative for ODA.
So it's a definitely combination. It depends. The consumer packaged goods probably have the most potential. Oregon traditionally, it appears, have been more into commodities, but we see a change, and it's very exciting. Consumer packaged goods, spirits, and beer. Some commodities. Pardon me?
Is that a personal favorite?
Seafood, spirits. Definitely some commodities. For example, blueberries. Once we have the market access, we're very excited. There's lots of interest from China for our blueberries. So those products have tremendous market potential in China. But consumer packaged goods, e-commerce, definitely that's where we want to be, are the winners. Please?
When you were talking about the team, was that to go to China or for them to come here?
Which one?
Well, you mentioned Oregon and Idaho.
Oh, okay, yeah, going to China.
Going to China.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
And any project that is WUSADA, the Western U.S. Agricultural Trade Association, you can find everything on their website.
What is that website?
It's WUSADA.org, ORG, I believe. They have a calendar, WUSADA, WUSATA.org.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
So how do you select the teams?
Teams for those types of activities.
Go to China.
Again, depends. With WUSADA, because we're one of 13 state members, actually soon to be 14 with Samoa joining Western US bloc. It's basically the first come, first serve from the company. They sign up. Once they hear about the opportunity, some of them are really staying on top of their game and checking the calendar. There's tremendous amount of opportunities through WUSADA for different markets. And China, one of the major markets represented by WUSADA. So they register, but if it's outbound, there is usually the registration fee, and that's it. Of course, they have to fit into the sector. So let's say if it's for feed and forage, hay or alfalfa, probably the consumer packaged good company or food service company wouldn't be a good fit.
What about Native American products?
Pardon me?
What about Native American products?
So as long as you are registered business in one of the 13 states, I believe any product can participate. However, Native American products, they actually could participate in a similar organization to WUSADA. It's the Market Access Funds, MAP funds, particularly for Native American origin products, and the incentives are much better. All right. Any more last question? All right. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Jingjing Cao, representative of TEDA U.S. office based in Chicago. Ms. Jingjing Cao is the representative of TEDA, the Tianjin Economic Technological Development Area. The U.S. office is based in Chicago, Illinois. Before that, Ms. Cao worked as the Secretary General of TEDA International Exchange Association in Tianjin, China. Ms. Cao has a bachelor's degree in translation of economic and trade in Nankai University and a Master of Business Administration degree in International Management in UIC University. Ms. Kiao's current role is to help U.S. companies expand their business in China, including direct investment, partner seeking, outsourcing, and marketing. And I apologize if I have mispronounced your name. Please welcome.
Hi, distinguished guests here today. My name is actually Jingjing, but that's fine.
Thank you.
And actually, my boss, the chief representative of the TEDA office, should be here today, but he has to get back to China for conferences. So I'm the representative of our chief representative today. Let's begin the topic. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Forgive for my tissue in my hand. It could keep me safe and sound. Today's topic is about Jingjing plane and how we could benefit from this plane. Do you have any idea of that plane? It's Jing Beijing, Jin Tianjin, our place, and Ji means Hebei province. Okay. You can look in the map. The area of the red lines is Beijing, and the blue lines is Tianjin, and the yellow lines is Hebei province. This Jingjing integration plan is for us. We have a goal that to reduce the economic and development gap between these areas by modernizing and efficiency connecting. As we all know, Beijing offers a variety of jobs for dynamic local businesses and global cooperate headquarters just flow into the capital here in China, and also some important research institute and some famous universities as Beijing University, Tsinghua University, and also we have famous universities in Tianjin too, like Nankai University. It's just advertisement. And also all this makes Beijing not only a political center, it's also a science, engineering, and culture center there. So it has a lot of resources. And talking about Hebei province, in the north of Hebei province, the outlying cities, they're either the bedroom communities with large commuter populations, or the industry hotbed for the steel, for iron and concrete factories. And for us, Tianjin, we are important, we're a major pot city here in northern part of China. And we just, we have a lot of projects made in northern part, shipping abroad, and a lot of input goods just shipping here in Tianjin, in our city. And we also manufacturing and technology center. By the way, I'm wondering how many persons here know about Tianjin before? Wow, I appreciate it. Because when I was in Chicago, when I just working for the street or just have the Uber driver to talk, they don't know what is Tianjin. Today I would like to say something maybe like stereotype description of Tianjin person. I would like to say that we are a balanced life enjoyer. Yeah, we know we are working hard, but on the other hand, we love to enjoy our life. And we have traditional crosstalk. Anybody knows about that? It's like a kind of a talk show. We just standing at the stage and make talks to make audience laugh. And the players, art, they enjoy the shows too. And our Tianjinren, people from Tianjin really love this kind of performance. And also we have delicious food. We have Go Believing steam ball. It is very famous. And we have Chinese pancake. I miss it so much. It is my favorite breakfast. And fried twist. I bet you don't know what is it, but I can't do it in my help hands because I don't know. My boss could allow me to do that, but you could check it from the internet. And okay, let's go back to our topic. This is about Tianjin, and now I would love to show you a video about TEDA. Yeah, thank you, Peter, for your word. It will give you a direct feeling for TEDA, our area. Actually, TEDA is for Tianjin Economic Technological Development Zone. Okay, let's begin. Enjoy TEDA.
This is a feast. This is a convergent point of global cultures. This is TEDA, a globalized economic technological development zone with incomparable competitiveness. A powerful sea, land, and air transport and logistics network brings everything you need to your fingertips. Enjoy TEDA.
After over 30 years of unswerving efforts, today's TEDA is a magnet for advanced manufacturing, R&D, incubation, and high-end services.
According to the annual appraisal on comprehensive investment environment by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, TEDA remains the champion among all the national level development zones since 1997.
It sits at the heart of the circumpolar economic belt of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei megalopolis. Around it, you can find almost all types of resources, markets for factories of production, as well as a galaxy of megacities, each with over 1 million people.
Beijing and Tianjin is a tale of two metropolitans with over 30 million people. By simply settling down in TEDA, you actually set up a presence in the country's international shipping center, logistics hub, and economic powerhouse.
With unparalleled industrial symbiosis, pioneering service values, and a mature business ecosystem, TEDA has long been recognized as one of the world's most dynamic regions and China's most admirable industrial parks. Enjoy TEDA.
Like an amazing gallery, TEDA presents Excelsior products and services to the rest of the world.
Here you can find great companies fostered by heroes of the business world. They are industrial masterpieces marveled by millions upon millions of people.
TEDA is a creator of legends and a gallery of business successes. It is a paradise for the Fortune 500 companies and a greenhouse of mega projects. After 3 decades, TEDA has become a museum of time-honored companies. We grow as our clients grow, and shine as our clients shine.
We have never stopped our efforts to attract respectable clients from around the world to tap the optimal potential of every individual and to turn their common dream into reality. Enjoy TEDA.
When you start up your business here, you will find a perfect stage.
A football team here, though we are not so good at it.
excellent support. And partners with the same dream and values. No matter conglomerates or startups, our clients will find equally satisfactory public services in TEDA.
They will also find a business-friendly, consistent, and reliable policy and regulatory system, streamlined procedures, and superior efficiency.
Through constant team building and infrastructure upgrading, TEDA spares every effort to attract and retain talents.
No matter if you're already a Fortune 500 company or a high-tech startup yet to triumph in the future, TEDA provides all directional services to guarantee whatever you need for success is right in your hand. This is TEDA, your home ground.
Through a fully fledged medical service network, high standard stadiums, high-end shopping malls, five-star hotels, blue and white-collar apartments, public housing projects, and senior talent flats. TEDA tries to make life here easy and cozy for everyone.
Already home to prestigious universities, secondary schools, primary schools, and kindergartens, TEDA tries to give the best growth opportunities to every child through a well-established education system.
In his family.
You and your family will fall in love with this place, for it gives you the feeling of home. Enjoy TEDA.
Okay, let's get back to the Okay. So this is a bird eye view of TEDA. Our government is just in that area. See that? And also, I want to introduce some our major industries in TEDA, because in a video they should just have Chinese characters. How can I deal with this? I just want to go to the next page and next page. I'm sorry for that. Next one. And next one. Next. Next. Yeah, this is the quote. Next. Next. Yeah, here it is. We have 5 advanced manufacturing, like automobile and electronics, information technology, and petrochemicals and biopharmaceuticals. We have a lot of brands here, like Volkswagen and Toyota, and you see Samsung. We have a really big zone for them, and John Deere in America, and all this is also American companies. For elevators, and we have also the modern high-end service. You see like Tankat. This is the firm. It's where the WeChat from, and also we have energy industries like new materials and new energies, and here comes some data drive from 2016, connect with the Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region plane. Actually, how can we just get closer and closer between these cities? Our China government just built up a high-speed railway to connect them within 1 hour distance. It will be finished in 2020. And according to a report, the budget, according to the report, maybe at the end of the 2017, the budget for this plane will worth $50 billion. And here is some other data for Tianjin and for Hebei or TEDA in this plane. Like here is 31% GDP growth of Tianjin during 2014 to 2016, and you can see that. Can you see the? Okay, like this. Yeah, thank you. Above is something we have talked, some benefit we can gain, and also we have some other advantages in it, some good news I can give to you. That now Beijing government organized operations was relocated to Tongzhou. It is outside Beijing City, but is nearer than before to our Tianjin city and to our TEDA. And also, TEDA has the combination with Binhai New Area Central Business District. So we also a free trade zone, means that the goods in our area could be duty free. And also some talents and high-end resources from Beijing are just flowing into Tianjin and our area too. So what can us do for foreign companies? We can help you to get good relationship with the government. You know, in China, you have to have good relationship with government, closer and better. And also, if you're shipping the goods to our area, it could be duty free, and you can also invest for TEDA in existing products, or just get some opportunity, invest opportunities in this Jingjing plane. And more than that, this plane is not only focused on economic development. You know that in Beijing we have some problem like fog and haze. It's really a problem for us. But actually, in past 3 years, Beijing shut down nearly 1,400 pollution companies, which I think could make the environment here better and better than before. So it's not only a economic development plan, it's also a environment development plan. It's a sustainable development plan here. Yeah, and what us TEDA US office could do, we can help you make investment in China, in Tianjin, in TEDA, and we can help you to sell your products and find your partners. Here. Actually, the first one is my boss email, and this one is the WeChat. Do you have WeChat app? Okay, you can scan the picture. WeChat again. Sometimes when they have big influence enough, we have to do free advertisement for them. So WeChat, we use it every day. It's a kind of monopoly, for us. Okay, this one is me. And our buildings, our government workers just stay in one building. So if you have any problem or questions, just give us, send us email. We can pass on the questions really quickly to other bureau who can just deal with it, and we can immediately get a feedback and just give it to you. So, and also I think our TEDA office is a really pioneer office. In the overseas office, we set up the office here in America maybe 18 years ago, and at that time we did service for Motorola in America and in China. So that's it. Thank you for your time, and I hope you could enjoy the visit and life here in Poland, and also maybe someday, hopefully, you can enjoy TEDA. Thank you.
Our last speaker this morning is Mr. Yihang, Economic and Commercial Counselor, Consulate General of the People's Republic of China in San Francisco. Counselor Yang has more than 15 years' experience in promoting trade and investment in both China and abroad. He has expertise in many industries such as automobile, pharmaceuticals, medical equipment, new materials, and logistics. From 1994 to 2000, Mr. Yang served at the State Oceanic Administration of the People's Republic of China. From 2000 to 2005, he was Deputy Director of the Bureau of Commerce, Dongcheng District in Beijing. From 2005 to 2015, Mr. Yang served as the Deputy Director General of Investment Promotion Agency of the Ministry of Commerce of China. Mr. Yang has served as the Commercial Counselor at the Consulate General of the People's Republic of China in San Francisco since November of 2015. In recent years, Mr. Yang has actively involved in promoting two-way investment and bilateral trade between China and the U.S. He has been introducing business environment and opportunities to both countries' entrepreneurs and officials, and connecting companies, venture capitalists, consulting firms, as well as business associations. He has a Bachelor of Science, Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Logistics. As the Commercial Counselor, he is dedicated to enhancing China-U.S. economic relations and providing services and support to companies from both sides. Please welcome Mr. Yihang.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yihang. I'm the Economic and Commercial Counselor of the Chinese Consulate General in San Francisco. Before I start my PPT, I want to thank Mr. Jingjing and Charlotte. Thank you so much for your great job to set up this meeting. It's a good opportunity, I think, for Chinese companies and Oregon companies to get together to find more cooperation opportunities. It's a great event. Honorable Secretary of State, Mr. Dennis Richardson, Honorable former State Senate May, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great honor to attend today's event. This is my third time visit Oregon City. Today I want to share you some information about two topics. The first one is about the current situation about economic relationship between China and the US and China and Oregon. I also want to take this opportunity to introduce a big event that will be hosted at the end of this year in Shanghai, in China. I think it will be a good opportunity for Oregon companies, especially for the SMEs, small and medium companies, to find some new opportunity of Chinese market. The economic relationship between China and US and China-Oregon has got a rapid progress in the past 20 years, from 1997 to 2017. According to the Ministry of Commerce of the US, the total trade between the two countries has increased 50 times, from 12.8 billion US dollars to 640 billion US dollars in 2015. China now is US biggest trade partner and #1 import source country and #3 export destination. In the past 20 years, as to Oregon, the growth is much faster. The total trade between China and Oregon has increased 91 times, from 71 million US dollars to 6,500 million US dollars. China now is Oregon's biggest trade partner and #1 importing source country and #2 export destination. The following slide is about the investment, the FDI, from China to US in the past 5 years. According to a group, the name is Rudium report, Chinese investment to US maintained a relatively high amount. By the end of last year, Chinese companies invested in the US totaled roughly $60 billion, covering 46 states and 425 congressional districts, creating more than 140,000 jobs. Direct investment from China to Oregon has reached $275 million during past 5 years. Electronics, ICT, real estate, and new energy are major industries in Oregon invested by Chinese companies. The mutual beneficial economic relationship cannot be separated from the joint efforts of all parts involved. I think with us today in this room, we have many companies, not only from China, but also the local companies. I want to thank you so much for your contribution to improve our economic relationship between China and Oregon. Oh, we also can see a picture. Mr. Richardson has led a business delegation to visit China last year and have a meeting with our Vice Minister, the Ministry of Commerce. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. You have done a great job to promote our economic relationship. Thank you so much for your successful trip. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a brief introduction about the CIIE, the China International Import-Export. You know, Chinese market is a huge one, and there is a great potential for Oregon products export to China. But the question is how to know better about the Chinese market and how to seize the new opportunities of Chinese market. I think CIIE, the China International Import-Export, will be a great platform for Oregon companies. I want to share some information about CIIE in three sections that include what's the purpose of China to hold this kind of event? Why do foreign companies and Oregon companies should participate in CIIE, and how to participate in this event? In May 2015, President Xi Jinping announced at the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation that the first China International Import-Export will be held in Shanghai from November 5th to November 10th this year. As the first national expert focused on import, CIIE is a unique and a great initiative in international trade. President Xi rapidly stressed that China will only be more open to the world and never shut the door. After 40 years growth in reform and opening up, China has formed a huge market scale and a great consumption potential. As the second largest economy and importing country, and the country with the world's largest population, China has imported goods of $9 trillion for past 5 years, accounting for 10% of the total import of the world. And China will import all goods and services of over $10 trillion in the next 5 years. The holding of CIIE is a practical move to support trade liberalization and facilitation and opening up, China is expecting to share its growing market with other countries and their companies. CIIE will provide a public platform of international trade opportunities. China has been the largest exporting country and the second largest importing country for 9 years. China record an import-export volume of 4.1 trillion US dollars in 2017, ranking the top of the world, and has trading partners with 430 countries and regions across the world. CIIE can bring buyers and sellers from different countries together. The buyers not from China, but also from other countries as well. CIIE will set up a high-level exchange platform for global trade. During CIIE, we will have a lot of high-level meetings, forums. You can know better about Chinese policies in the next few years and know better about Chinese market. It is estimated that during this event, we will have more than 150 professional buyers will attend this event. So why do we participate in CIIE? The first CIIE in terms of import is an important window for China's foreign trade and opening up the option choice for foreign enterprises entering China, and a rare opportunity for them to build image, risk profile, and find new partners. CIIE will have high trading efficiency. At CIIE, you may directly acquire the latest information on trading and investment policies and product with the latest time efforts, thereby enhancing trading efficiency for further expansion into the market of China and other Asia countries. The CIIE will also offer professional services adhering to the people-oriented and customer-first service concept. CIIE will never stop improving its capabilities in providing one-stop services such as negotiation and appointment, translation, information consulting, customers and freight, and so on. So the last part is how to participate in CIIE. We have two ways for participation. First one, you can make an application at the official website of CIIE. The second way is we much prefer this one. Make an application to official exhibition organizer in Oregon, Oregon China Association Council. There will be a special discount if you submit the application through COSRC. Of course, you can also contact us directly. The deadline of application is June 30, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm expecting all of you to be present at CIIE in November this year to experience the charming Expo and seize business opportunities. As the Chinese Consulate General in San Francisco, we will do everything we can to help Oregon companies to attend this big event. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That concludes the morning part of the conference, ladies and gentlemen. I believe lunch is going to be served if it hasn't already been. It's coming up very quickly, and take the time to enjoy each other's company.